Is this the race where I can finally get a podium in Assetto Corsa Competitione on Low Fuel Motorsport? Or is it the race where I can go one better and actually get that elusive first win? Well, I've never been closer to the front, so this could be the golden opportunity I've been waiting for. I'm less than 4/10 off Iga Canali in pole position, and I'll be starting from P7. However, with 3 drivers right behind me, all within a tenth, this is not going to be easy. But over such a long lap like we've got here at the Nürburgring, to be so close to the driver on pole gives me real encouragement that this might be my day. Come on, let's go for the win. And it's green, we are going straight away. The McLaren driver behind of Ulrich Ludens is trying to squeeze his way in between me and the pit wall to the right. That's going to force me out into the middle of the track, and I'm in real danger of getting squeezed. Oh, there are bigger problems ahead because there's a Lamborghini sliding right across the track. That's Oliver Anschutz. I react in the nick of time. I decide to abort the corner and go out wide to get around that melee, and we have survived. Well, this was already a big opportunity for me, but it's just become an even bigger one now, although we're going to come under attack straight away from the Ferrari diving into turn 3. That's Manuel Begucci. Begucci started P3 on the grid, so he must have got caught up in that turn 1 carnage, and he is in a real hurry to try and get back to the front of the pack. And I've got no idea at all what position I'm in at the moment. I mean, I've got to be higher than the 7th place I started in, because we must have lost some of the front runners in that turn 1 melee. We certainly lost Oliver Anschutz. He started P6 right in front of me on the grid. He was the Lamborghini driver who slid out of control across track, and he must have taken other drivers with him. We'll go back and check out the replay shortly, but for now, let's stick with the live action, because the leaderboard has updated and has confirmed we are in 5th position. So a really encouraging first lap here. It's not very often I get to say this, but I know I've got the pace to stick with the leading pack here. The only slight snag is that the front 2 have both made a break for it. Iga Canali in first and Yannick Jan in second. Both got through that first corner before Anschutz slid across track. Right, now we've got just a little bit of breathing room both in front and behind us. Let's go back and check out the replay of the turn 1 incident. And it was a really stressful start for me. Look at the McLaren right behind trying to squeeze his way past by the concrete wall. That pushes me out into the centre of the track, and now I'm in the middle 3 wide. I knew I was going to get squeezed, and there was a little bit of contact with the black Ferrari of Lucius Seneca, but nowhere near as catastrophic as Oliver Anschutz's mistake there. But thankfully I had enough time to anticipate what was happening and move out wide and get around it all. Let's watch again from the chopper cam, and keep your eye on Anschutz. He's in P5 and he's just going to clip the grass to the left. That sends him right across track. He torpedoes into several other cars, and turn 1 is now a car park. So a dramatic start to this race. I said before we got underway that it was a great opportunity for a podium or a win, and it is an even bigger opportunity now. However, if I am going to challenge for a podium, at the very least I need to find an extra 10th or 2. Begucci in front of me, his qualifying time was a 1:55.9. Compare that to my 1:56.1. I need to be lapping in the 1:55s if I'm going to mount a challenge for a top 3 finish here. But at the moment I'm doing a pretty decent job of staying with Begucci, but the front 3 are making a break for it. Steve Tucker in third, he's 3 seconds clear now, and then there's a further 2-second gap to Yannick Jan in second, and Iga Canali leading the race. Oh, a mistake from Begucci. He's out onto the grass. This is an opportunity. I move over to the left. There's contact as Begucci rejoins, and I just get squeezed out on exit. Well, that was a big chance to take 4th position, but one that I wasn't able to capitalise on, and now I'm going to be under pressure from Lucius Seneca. Seneca poking his nose up the inside. I'm going to have to leave him space. Oh, but on exit once again, I'm squeezed out and I get spun around from the car behind. Oh no, my podium hopes have gone up in smoke on lap 2 here at the Nürburgring. Well, I came into this race with such high hopes, but it's ended up being the same old story. It has ended in disaster here. I've rejoined all the way down in 12th position, although that will become 11th because there was an Audi rejoining from the right. That was Jermaine Velasquez. Yeah, bitterly disappointing. We're going to have to go back and check out a replay of the incident. It felt like I was squeezed out unfairly. Well, the reason I was under pressure in the first place was because of this mistake by Manuel Begucci. He ran out onto the grass and then rejoined. That pushed me wide through that section, and that invited Lucius Seneca to really challenge coming down the hill. Now, I wish I'd been a bit more defensive coming in here. If I'd just blocked off that inside line, I wouldn't have given Seneca the opportunity to try the move. But as soon as he did, I knew he was there, so I left a car's width on the inside for him. But I just felt the favour wasn't returned on exit. I wasn't given the space on the outside, and that caused me to spin. We're riding on board with the McLaren driver, Ulrich Rudens. He careered into me as well. So really unfortunate for Rudens that, but at the very next corner we lost the Audi of Jermaine Velasquez, and talk about going for a gap that isn't there. Velasquez gassing it through that chicane even though there are cars battling too wide right in front of him. Let's see it from another angle. Looking back from the BMW of Akos Varga, the three of them are just about to weave their way through my crash. And Kevin Mumler in the white Mercedes is going to get a great run. He makes a move up the inside of the BMW. This is where they're too wide, and watch that Audi. Yeah, I'm not too sure what Velasquez thought was going to happen differently there. He crashes out into one barrier, Momba gets pushed out to the other side of the track. But the important thing for me now is not to get frustrated, not to drive angry. I found out to my cost that driving angry doesn't work at the Red Bull Ring last week, so I've got to keep my composure here. I've got to reassess my goals, and I've got to set new targets. And right now that target has got to be a top 10 finish. 10th position currently occupied by Martin Schultz in that black McLaren right ahead, but I get a real slide on coming through the final corner. That is going to put me under pressure from Harry Rishanen in the Porsche. Rishanen fully alongside now, and he's carrying much more speed down the start and finish straight. He's going to have the inside line for T1, so there's not much I can do here other than hang it out wide and hope that he runs it too deep, which he has done. Meanwhile, I'm getting the corner squared off early, which gives me the power to dart back past up into 11th position. Let's check out the replay of that quickly. Nothing I could do really apart from hang it out wide. Whoa, he almost took Schultz out there. But I did wonder if he might run in a little bit hot, and thankfully I guessed right. That gave me P11 back. Right, returning to the live action halfway through lap 5. Both Schultz and Momba have got past Akos Varga in the BMW. So as things stand, we've got Momba in 8th, Schultz in 9th, Varga in 10th, and me in 11th. So the order is different, but the goal is the same. I am targeting a top 10 now. I know I've got more pace than the BMW driver in front of me. Varga qualified P12 on the grid with a time of 1:56.6, so he was half a second slower than me in qualifying. However, I do have aero damage to contend with now. I took a pretty hefty whack from Ulrich Rudens in that McLaren a couple of laps ago, and it has left me with some damage. And I've got a pretty good run on Varga here, but the yellow flags are out. I'm not quite close enough to make the pass anyway, so I will back out of this one. Will there be another position up for grabs? No, it's a back marker out on the grass to the left. Right, we're jumping forward now to lap 7, and we're watching the Ferrari driver Jonas Stromstad get it all wrong through this section, just clipping the grass to the right, and it sends him head first into the barrier. Now he rejoins right in front of Akos Varga in the BMW, and I'm not far behind either. I have dropped back just a little bit. The gap to Varga now is 1.8 seconds. However, he is going to get slowed down by the Ferrari because Stromstad is driving with some pretty hefty damage after that shunt. Meanwhile, look in the rearview mirror, I've got company from German Velasquez. So never mind getting into the top 10. At the moment, I am closer to 12th position than I am to 10th. 1.8 seconds the gap to Varga, but it's just 0.2 of a second back to the Audi. Meanwhile, in front, it looks like Varga is making his move on Stromstad. Now Varga moving up the inside into T1. Can he get it done? He pushes the Ferrari out wide. That slowed them both down, so now I'm right back in contention for the top 10. Varga is up to 9th, Stromstad in 10th, and I'm now just 0.3 of a second behind. Stromstad looks well down on pace. He's on the brakes really early. I couldn't do anything to avoid it there. I think we might have spun Stromstad out. Oh no. Well, I've got to admit, I thought long and hard about stopping and waiting for Stromstad to rejoin. I felt terrible about this contact. I really got caught out, firstly by his wide line and then by his early braking. The only thing that made me feel a touch less guilty was the fact that Velasquez gave him a secondary nudge and pointed him back in the right direction again. But watching from the chopper cab, you can see how early he brakes and you can see just how much it caught me out. There was nothing I could do there. I tried to go for the inside line to avoid hitting him, but it wasn't to be. And straight after the race, I sent a message to Jonas apologising for the hit, which he accepted very graciously. He said he was carrying a lot of damage and that he was really struggling to drive that Ferrari, so he had no problems at all with the incident. All's well that ends well there, thankfully. So we're going to rejoin the live action now, just as we're about to start lap 9. I am still right on the tail of Varga's BMW, just 0.2 of a second the gap now. However, neither of us can get rid of Velasquez in the Audi. He's only half a second back, but look how close I am to Varga now, swarming over his rear spoiler, and Velasquez is breathing down my neck through T1 as well. Velasquez really means business now. And if I start working too hard trying to defend against the Audi, this could give Varga the opportunity to make a break for it. Oh, mistake from me into turn 3. I just can't get it stopped or turned in. That's an open invitation for Velasquez. We're side by side as we exit the stadium section. Velasquez is going to have the run, surely. Yes, he does. Velasquez up into 10th. So once again, I find myself pushed out of the top 10. I'm down to 11th. Right, can I do anything about getting this 10th position back? We're going to jump forward to the end of lap 11 now, and it's as you were. Varga's in 9th position, and he's actually a couple of seconds clear now. I'm 0.7 of a second behind Velasquez in 10th. Right, starting lap 12, there's just 3 minutes left on the clock, and at the moment I am not close enough to that Audi to even consider challenging for the top 10. I am going to brake as late as I possibly can to apply pressure, and it seems to have worked. Velasquez is rattled and he's lost the rear coming out of turn 1. Yeah, if I didn't quite have the pace to overtake Velasquez, the least I could do was apply as much pressure as I possibly could in the hope that he'd make a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. A big error coming out of turn 1, and I've got my top 10 position back. We're now returning to the live action on the very last lap. I'm not close enough to Varga, so 10th position is as good as I'm going to get here. Bitterly disappointing considering I entered this race with such high hopes. It was a really unlucky incident on lap 2, and fair play to Lucius Seneca. He got in touch with me straight after the race and apologised for the contact, so no problems at all there. I'll just dust myself down and go again. Here are the classify results then. I'm all the way down in 10th, and it's a case of what could have been. Lucius Seneca, who I was in front of before that incident, ended up finishing 4th. And look at Tucker on the podium with a fastest lap of 1:56.6. I had more than enough pace to be challenging up there. Now, normally I only do one race a week in ACC, but I felt like I had unfinished business at the Nürburgring this week, so I've come back to do it one more time. Now, I was a little bit slower in qualifying for this one. My time of 1:56.6 has put me P8, but had I clocked a 1:56.1 like I did in the previous race, I'd be starting from P5. So once again, I feel like I've got the pace to challenge here. Admittedly, the podium may be a step too far this time. The strength of field is a little bit higher for this one, and the top 3 all lapping in the mid-155s. They might be a bit too quick for me. The others, though, I think I can give them a run for their money. But I'm going to have to be incredibly streetwise at turn 1. We saw the carnage that happened last time, so I've got to be alert for any collisions. Going to hang it out a little bit wide again, but it looks like everybody is through cleanly. I've got Oliver Anschutz to my right. I bet he breathed a bigger sigh of relief than anyone coming through turn 1 after the havoc that he caused there in race 1. Oh, and I just get a little bit too close to the Lamborghini, and I give Anschutz a bit of a nudge there. Thankfully, it was pretty much square on, so it didn't cause any damage or cause Anschutz to spin. So we're through that first section. I'm not sure what position I'm in yet, but I'd wager a bet that I might be in 7th because Ben Barnes is behind me now. Barnes started P7, so I've got past him. I reckon I've moved from P8 to P7. The leaderboard will update shortly as we come through this first sector. But yeah, I'm really pleased to come through those opening few turns unscathed and in a strong position. Now I've got to see if I've got the pace to keep up with these guys ahead. The leaderboard's updated. Sure enough, I am up into 7th place. So as things stand halfway through this opening lap, we've got Kevin Monger in 4th, Henning Venn 5th, Oliver Auschwitz 6th, and me in 7th. Ben Barnes just behind in 8th, and Akos Varga in 9th. Right, let's skip forward to the end of the first lap because things are going to get tasty at the end of this start-finish straight. At the moment, I'm about 0.6 of a second behind Anschutz ahead, and I feel like I've got the pace to start gapping Ben Barnes behind, so I'm feeling really confident here as we start lap 2, but cast your eye further down the track. Things are going to get a bit feisty. Mamba in that white Mercedes is going to run him way too hot, and he has taken out Daniel Bedorek. So that is 2 of the front runners out of the race, and I am up into the top 5. Let's watch the replay. Look for the white Mercedes in the background. There's no way Mamba's getting that stopped, and poor Daniel Bedorek, nothing he can do there. Riding on board with Kevin Mamba now, we can see he just misses his braking point. He's never going to get that Mercedes stopped, and the number 1 plate is out of the race. Well, it soon became clear that I didn't have the pace to close in on the leading 3. I was actually struggling to keep up with Anschutz. However, the Lamborghini driver is starting to look a little bit ragged as we return to the live action on lap 5. He was a bit deep into that hairpin there, which has allowed me to close in a few tenths, and then he's going to get this sectional wrong, out onto the gravel. This is my opportunity to make a move for 4th. Oh, but look at Anschutz. He's positioned his car slap bang in the middle of the track. There wasn't room on the inside. There wasn't room on the outside for me either, so I had to tuck back in behind. However, I am applying real pressure to the Lamborghini driver now. He's out onto the gravel again. This is surely the opportunity to tuck my nose up the inside into this fast right kick, or right the curve just a little bit. I've got to avoid drifting over to the left. If I move over to the left, I would push the Lamborghini out into the grass, and that's the last thing I want to do. So yeah, for now, Anschutz holds on to 4th position, but this is a proper battle now. And in fact, this was the story of the whole race. We're jumping forward now to the start of lap 11. Nothing has changed. I'm within 0.3 of a second of the Lamborghini, but there's nothing I can do about it. We are almost identical on pace. I can get as close as I possibly can, but I just can't find the extra tenth I need to pull alongside and get past. Check out my fastest lap in the top left corner of the screen, a 1:55.9. I am now lapping in the 1:55s, yet still it's not enough to get past Anschutz. Which brings us to the final lap of the race. Is there anything I can do in this very last minute? Well, for the first 24 minutes of this race, I've been unable to get past the Lamborghini, so the odds of me doing it now are pretty slim, but you never know. I may be able to force a mistake, or I may make a mistake myself because I run in a bit hot into the hairpin there as I try everything I possibly can to make Anschutz's life as miserable as possible over this final half a lap. But at the moment, he has still got a half-second advantage. He's flawless through there. I'm not going to get an opportunity in this left-hander. All I can do is get as close as I possibly can and apply as much pressure as I possibly can. And maybe, just maybe, we can force him into a mistake. He was looking pretty ragged earlier in this race, but his nerves seem to have settled now. He's driving pretty smoothly, and in fact, he's opened up a tenth or 2 out of that section. And I think we're going to have to settle for a top 5 here unless he makes a mistake through this final chicane. No, he's clean through there again. Does take a bit of the curve on the inside, but it hasn't caused him any issues. And yeah, Anschutz has done enough now to take 4th position. Oh, I get a bit slidey coming out of the final turn there. The last thing I want to do is make a mistake now, and I will end up in 5th position. So yeah, I had high hopes of a podium. I had outside hopes of a race win. Neither materialised, but I have ended the race week in the top 5. So that is a definite sign of improvement over recent weeks. And look at the fastest laps, a 1:55.9 for me. Now, had I kept with the top 3, I probably could have challenged them. My lap was half a second quicker than Oliver Anschutz's best, and look at the times above him. Hennig Wendt in 3rd, a 1:56.2. Eli McPhailey in 2nd, a 1:55.8. I could have challenged for a podium if I just qualified a little bit further up the grid. So plenty to be positive about after this race week. I'm feeling really optimistic for ACC now. Hope you can join me again next time. Cheers.